Nobody noticed when the white orangutan stopped eating. In the northern wing of the abandoned primate research sanctuary, his cage was the quietest place in the entire facility, as if even sound refused to stay near him. The animal was rare, almost ghost-like, white fur, pale skin beneath, eyes too tired for something so young. The staff called him Specimen Zero, but no one said it with care anymore. At first, he had been the center of attention. Scientists studied his genetics, whispered about mutations, argued over his value. Cameras once followed every movement he made. But discoveries lose their shine quickly, and funding even faster. Now only one worker came down the corridor each day, dropping food without looking directly at him. The white orangutan had stopped responding weeks ago. He sat curled in the same corner, staring at the wall as if something beyond it was calling him back. His breathing grew shallow. His ribs began to show through his pale fur like cracks in old stone. Far from him, in the lower quarantine section, lived another orangutan. The staff called him the Outcast, an aging male with a scarred face and one torn ear. He had once fought too often, refused commands too often, survived too stubbornly, so they isolated him too, not because he was fragile, but because he was inconvenient. That old outcast watched everything. Through bars and distance, he noticed patterns others ignored. The silence of the white one, the lack of movement, the slow disappearance of life from his body. For days, he pressed his face against the cage bars, staring upward, as if trying to remember something forgotten between them. One evening, when the facility lights flickered during a storm, the outcast did something he had never done before. He stopped pacing, he sat still, and he began to watch the white orangutan, not as another animal in a cage, but as something breaking in a language only he understood. And for the first time in years, he reached out his hand. His trembling hand hovered in the cold air between cages. The gesture meant nothing to the facility. No cameras recorded it, no alarm responded, no scientist cared enough to notice. But in the silent distance between cages, it meant everything. The white orangutan didn't move at first. His eyes stayed fixed on the wall, as if even life itself had become optional. Days of starvation had blurred his awareness into something thin and floating. He was no longer fully present, just a body waiting for the final instruction to stop existing. The outcast did not withdraw his hand. He simply held it there, steadying himself against the bars, as if patience alone could cross the distance. Something shifted in the white one, a flicker, not of recognition, but of instinct. His fingers twitched, weak, almost meaningless, but it was movement, and movement in this place was rare enough to feel like language. The outcast made a soft sound, low, guttural, not quite a call, not quite a warning. It was ancient, not learned from humans, something older, something that didn't belong in cages. The white orangutan finally turned his head. It was slow, painfully slow, like turning a stone that had forgotten it could roll. Their eyes met. The outcast did not look away. The white one blinked once, then again, as if trying to understand why another being would still be looking at him when there was nothing left worth seeing. The storm outside intensified, rattling metal roofs, shaking bolts loose somewhere in the upper corridors. The facility groaned like something asleep but not fully dead. Inside, the cages remained unchanged, unforgiving, static, but the air between them wasn't static anymore. The outcast shifted closer to the bars, pressing his forehead against them. He extended his hand again, this time lower, closer to the white orangutan's level, not demanding, not pulling, just offering. The white one hesitated. Then, with a tremor that ran through his entire body, he moved, 1 inch, then another. His fingers lifted from the floor for the first time in days, and just before they could touch, the lights in the corridor died completely, swallowing both of them into darkness. The darkness did not feel like absence. It felt like permission. Without the harsh white lights of the facility, something changed in the cages. Shapes softened. Distances stopped feeling absolute. The white orangutan froze for a moment, his hand still lifted, suspended in uncertainty. Then he heard it again, the low sound from the outcast. Closer now, not across the world anymore, just metal and breath and space that could almost be crossed. The white orangutan moved forward, slowly, not because he chose to, but because something inside him finally stopped resisting. His body, once punished into stillness, now obeyed something older than fear. He dragged himself across the cage floor, ribs scraping against hard surface, until his fingers reached the bars. On the other side, the outcast pressed forward too. Their hands met at last, not through glass, not through distance, through cold metal that still allowed contact. But contact was enough. The white orangutan flinched at first, as if touch itself had become dangerous. His fingers curled instinctively away. Then he felt it, the steady pressure of the other hand, warm, real, present, and something inside him cracked. Not loudly, not violently, quietly, like ice breaking under its own weight. He didn't understand why he suddenly remembered warmth, or why his chest tightened in a way that wasn't pain, or why his breathing, shallow for so long, stuttered as if trying to relearn itself. The outcast did not move. He simply stayed there, holding on through the bars, as if he had been waiting an entire lifetime for this exact moment of stillness. The white orangutan leaned closer, forehead to metal, hand to hand, breath mixing through gaps no human ever bothered to close. Outside, emergency generators struggled. Lights flickered weakly somewhere far down the corridor, but none reached them. The world above them continued its neglect. But inside the cage, something had shifted permanently. The white orangutan closed his eyes, and for the first time in weeks, he did not feel alone. The outcast let out a breath, slow, heavy, almost relieved, and he held on tighter. Morning came without ceremony. The facility's backup power restored partial lighting, but no one came to the northern wing immediately. It was still considered low priority, just containment, just storage, just things that survived too long. In the white orangutan's cage, nothing looked changed at first glance. He was still there, still weak, still thin, but his hand was no longer on the floor. It remained pressed against the bars, and on the other side, the outcast had not moved either. He sat exactly where he had been all night, his fingers still locked around the metal, as if letting go would undo something irreversible. The white orangutan opened his eyes slowly. He did not look at the wall this time. He looked at the hand holding his. There was no sudden recovery, no miracle strength. His body was still failing him, but something had changed its direction. The collapse was no longer empty. It was shared. He made a small sound, barely audible, not a call for help, not fear, something simpler, a presence acknowledging another presence. The outcast responded with the same sound. For the first time, they mirrored each other. Hours passed, or maybe minutes. Time in the facility never cared for precision. The white orangutan's breathing became uneven again. But this time, the outcast did not pull away. He stayed, steady, anchored, refusing to let silence win where touch had already spoken. The white one shifted slightly, his head lowered, resting against the bars, closer to the other hand. His fingers loosened, but not in surrender, in trust. And then, very slowly, he stopped resisting the weight of his own body. The outcast watched him closely, unmoving, as if memorizing the moment. The white orangutan's eyes fluttered, not fully closing, not fully open, still here, still held, still not alone, and that was enough for him to stop shaking. When the staff finally arrived hours later, they expected another silent specimen, another predictable decline. Instead, they found something they didn't understand. Two hands still touching through the bars, one fading life no longer falling alone, and one old exile who refused to let go. The white orangutan exhaled once more, and did not inhale again. The outcast did not move for a long time after that. He just stayed there, holding on, as if the boundary between cages had finally stopped meaning anything at all.